Good evening. Tonight we present a special edition of Eye on Okinawa. As 1990 draws to a close, we'll be reviewing some of the events that took place this year that stick out. News stories that linked Okinawa with the events of the world. Feature stories that speak of life on Okinawa. And training exercises that take you right out to the field. So let's press rewind on the time machine and then fast forward through 1990. And we'll begin with this report from our top anchor, Marine Corporal LaDonna Moore.
The year began amidst plans for a smaller military, with personnel and budget cuts planned for all the services. Reduced funding ended the Air Force SR-71 reconnaissance aircraft program on Kadena Air Base, and the Blackbird, or locally named Habu, took to the skies from Kadena for its last time in January. Early retirements and separations, as well as a civilian hiring freeze, took effect in an effort to save money, and transition assistance programs were formed so that service members could learn how to face these changes. Several high-ranking officials were to visit in the coming months. Secretary of Defense Dick Cheney arrived on Okinawa in February while on a tour of the Pacific to reassess military roles in the area, and he predicted a 10 to 12% decrease in troops over the next 3 years. General Merrill McPeak, then Commander-in-Chief of the Pacific Air Force, also stopped by in February. The Secretary of the Army, the Honorable Michael P.W. Stone, visited in March, and the Commandant of the Marine Corps, General Al Gray, came by in April and October. All addressed the issue of troop reductions and training.
All of the senior leadership agree that we will continue to put our highest priority on people. That means that our people and the training, their readiness, the quality of life, the compensation issues and so on will not be sacrificed.
We've been working with the Congress to understand that there's a human cost involved with some of these policies if they make us do some things which we think are just not smart things to do.
I think in Okinawa, as elsewhere throughout the Corps, we will continue to make refinements and we'll continue to make changes. The fundamental mission of the Marines around the world doesn't change in that we have to be the nation's expeditionary force and preparedness.
Budget reductions aside, new facilities added to the quality of life for many on island. A new 4-bay jet engine test cell cut noise pollution considerably for Kadena and surrounding communities and uses air instead of water for cooling. Camp Kinser's growing number of families saw the opening of a new commissary there and the Kinser restaurant. The largest exchange in the Pacific opened last summer on Camp Foster, and students got some room to grow with a new middle school on Kadena Air Base. Extra room for the growing number of little ones could be found at the new Camp Courtney Child Care Center, and families began moving into the new Camp Victoria's housing in September, although elevated lead levels were a cause of concern for some.
We determined that the water supply on island is well within standards, and that the elevated lead was coming from new fixtures that are also, by the way, within EPA standards.
Talk of a smaller military was on the minds of many during the first part of 1990. Soon other events took precedence. A devastating earthquake struck the Philippines on July 16th, measuring 7.7 on the Richter scale and killing over 1,000 people. The 603rd Airlift Control Squadron helped with airlifts of donations, and other military units came to the aid of the Filipino people. Okinawan citizens encircled Kadena Air Base in a peaceful demonstration for world peace August 5th, while only 3 days before, on August 2nd, Iraq invaded Kuwait and set off a chain of events that would soon affect people around the world. Marine and Seabee units were among the first to leave Okinawa in September for the Persian Gulf, followed by the 376th Strategic Wing in November.
You can sense the concern about the husband leaving, the spouses leaving their loved ones behind. It's a very emotional time.
They're very anxious. They're looking toward a difficult job, but one that they have been trained to do and are very much ready to do.
The USO offered support groups for the spouses left behind here, and Seabee and Marine reservists began arriving to bolster operations. Gas prices increased from $1.03 to $1.62 a gallon in October. Stop-loss measures and involuntary on-island extensions were all directly attributed to events in the Middle East and felt by many here. While major changes went on around the world, Okinawan citizens made changes of their own and elected a new governor in November. Professor Masahida Ota promised to work with the American forces here, although the issue of land returns is a priority.
There is a saying that if Ota gets elected, he would be strongly opposed to everything U.S. forces would do, but this is nonsense. I was educated in the United States, so I owe a lot to the U.S. People and U.S. government.
From troop reductions to the possibility of war in the Middle East, 1990 saw the beginning of events that will no doubt live on in history here and abroad.
With Operation Desert Shield dominating the news since August, training on Okinawa these past few months has taken on a new meaning. But the training is almost nonstop, and as Lance Corporal Pamela Redmond tells us in this next report, training military men and women covers a wide area.
Practice makes perfect, as the saying goes, and training throughout 1990 for servicemen and women on Okinawa provided the essentials for mission success. Training came in all forms, from classroom instruction to full-scale multinational exercises with everything in between. Back to the basics was the goal of combat training in the northern and central training areas. Marines from units island-wide utilized both facilities throughout the year as part of a corps-wide program to train all Marines as basic warriors.
One other thing I think Marines need is to be able to be tactical, is to have an endurance-type training, and be able to get on, get off helicopters, and get on and get off amphibious vehicles. This is the first time base Marines have ever done anything like this.
Units on island also conducted training for their specific mission. In March, Marine Corps Air Station Fatima had a crash fire rescue exercise. The Army 505th Quartermaster Battalion in May went to the central training area for an exercise in refueling.
And it's good for them because we have the fuel. So together, we can conduct this joint training to the benefit of the soldiers, which is really what it's all about. And our people come away with a better understanding of not only the Marine Corps, but how to operate in a tactical environment in the field, which is something we don't normally do, operating our pipeline on a day-to-day basis.
Joint service training occurred frequently. The Air Force held a nuclear, biological, and chemical training class, and Marines were in attendance. Naval personnel wanted combat training, and the Army provided instruction for a rappelling session at the tower on Torrey Station.
What we're trying to do is we're out here at the Torrey Rappel Tower, trying to just instill some self-confidence, unit cohesion, and teamwork into these Navy personnel, men and women, and trying to build on some basic rappel skills that they may or may not already have.
Throughout 1990, exercises were conducted to test the level of readiness for both the individual and unit. We saw Team Spirit, Valiant Blitz, Habusaku-san, and Cope North. Saber Spirit, an Air Force exercise, enabled members of the Kadena team to test their skills against other PACAF squadrons.
These are our actual wartime jobs, and to give them 2 to 3 months to train hard and concentrate on nothing but doing their wartime skills, to go and compete with other units and gain experience, pointers, better ways of doing things, and then take them back to your home unit and pass that experience around.
As servicemen and women continue to deploy throughout the world, maintaining a high level of readiness becomes more essential than ever. Training will ensure that level of readiness to meet whatever challenges lie ahead. For FEN News, I'm Marine Lance Corporal Pamela Redmond.
Now we have just enough time left for a quick look at some of the top feature stories of the year, and there have been a lot. But there were some that the FEN reporters really threw themselves into. So before we officially close the books on 1990, Staff Sergeant Rick Randall looks at the top feature stories of the year.
This year, FEN News has brought a lot of special stories to the screen. We've shown human triumphs.
That's just about it. The news and feature stories of 1990, a full year on Fast Forward, As we look forward to another year, we have some new changes being made, like a new set for the news team, some new features, and just more stories about life on the island. We'll leave this edition of Eye on Okinawa and the year 1990 with messages of caring and concern for the men and women serving in the Gulf region as we keep our eye on Okinawa.
Hi, this is Sharon. This is for Jeffrey Cole on the USS Independence. Just wanted to tell you that we miss you and love you, and that hurry up and come home and be safe.
This goes out to Kevin Chatfield on the USS Jewett. I just wanted to let you know that I love you and I miss you, and I'm going to be here for you when you get back. Love, Nikki.
This is Mother. I love you, and I know you're going to come home.
This message is to AT-2 Womack and the crew of VF-21 from Virginia and Kelly and families. We want to send our love and our support and to let you know that our prayers are with you, and we support what you're doing over there, and we'll be waiting here at home on your return.